in a situation where you're totally lacking in any empirical guidance and support, you haven't gone out and been able to test and do anything in the market, isn't it entirely appropriate and isn't it the most honest thing for the company to say, it's our guess that this is what's going on? We don't know.
Yes.
So in that context, it's entirely legitimate for companies to say, this is what we see happening, and this is our guess as to what might actually occur. Guessing here, it's the only thing we can do.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is a very important video. Now, John Deaton shared it a little bit earlier today over on his Crypto Law channel over on Twitter, and he stated this. The 30th of April 2020, Stanford Law virtual event. Joseph Grundfest grills the then Chairman Jay Clayton on earnings reports by registered companies. But the legal point he is making is a foreshadowing of his letter 7 months later warning the SEC not to sue Ripple over XRP. To be honest with you guys, I find it quite difficult to fetch from this conversation the most important point, because the questions he's asking are pretty logical. He's asking a question of, isn't it reasonable that if a company basically has questions, that they have questions? That's to be honest with you, that's the bottom line of this. He's saying, if something is unclear, isn't it normal that a company makes assumptions to the best of their ability? And isn't it normal that at some point they just might not know something? And Jay Clayton is basically just saying yes. I think from a certain perspective, this sets a groundwork for the fair notice defense that Ripple is pulling up. And again, is a reason to not sue Ripple/XRP, because at the end of the day, Jay Clayton, and I believe almost anybody that you ask this question to, will agree that it's just not clear, or at least that it's difficult to find out exactly what the rules are. And if that's the case, then as he basically established here, isn't it normal that they shouldn't have known or couldn't have known because there's no rules? He's saying, yeah, it's definitely feasible, it's definitely possible. So then why do you sue them for it? If you already know that it's kind of normal to not know if there's not any rules, and it's not really stupid for them to make assumptions then if there's no rules, what are you suing them for? It's hard to give a good answer to that question. Why exactly did they get sued? A couple of you guys in the comment section were saying, well, they got sued because of sales. Yeah, but it doesn't really say anywhere that the sales in which they were conducted are not good. Why? That's a long story. We've covered that 1,000 times on the channel, I think, by now. But the whole story kind of comes down to, is Ripple as a company, or the founders and whatnot, market participants or not? And does that change regarding, or I guess per project? Well, yes, of course it does, right? But how exactly, and what is the differing point? Why is Ethereum fine, even though, again, a lot of companies and a lot of guys have bought in? I mean, if you go down the SEC rabbit hole, you can definitely spend a couple of days a day, right? It sounds crazy, but it is what it is. You can literally spend just hours and hours and hours a day going down the Ripple v SEC lawsuit rabbit hole, or just the SEC history rabbit hole. And to be honest with you, I think you become pretty depressed after a little while. You already know, every single one of you watching this video should know, these videos are in no way, shape, or form financial or legal advice. What I do ask you guys, though, is to press that like button because it helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And if you're wondering why I do my eyes like this, it's because I have a flashlight that's like directly in my eyes, you know? But I'm doing that because a couple of you guys said, get better lighting. And since I keep stalling my order of like a good light, I am using another phone. I'm using an iPhone flashlight while, again, recording this with another iPhone. It's an interesting one. But that's why I'm doing like this the whole time. You know? If I look like a dumbass, you know now. So down the rabbit hole, here's, for example, what Tig has written. Tig, very wonderful on all the deeper facts. Again, the only problem is it's kind of pointless. Why? I'll get to in just a second. Mike Novogratz' Bradmer Pharma, shell company, became Galaxy Digital. There's evidence Mike Novogratz staked 30,000 Bitcoin during the Ether pre-sale and used it to fund Galaxy Digital. This could get juicy. Sometimes when I see that, I just think about my own wording because I always say juicy. Thread coming by the weekend, Sullivan Cromwell represented them. Now, again, we could kind of go down the rabbit hole on the Sullivan Cromwell part in the sense that, you know, there's a connection between the law firm and the SEC members, but more importantly, they're very heavily involved in Bitcoin. And what I kind of try to connect this to is the fact that, first of all, we can go really far down the SEC ETH clarity rabbit hole in the sense that when is something clear, right? And when does somebody know something and whatnot. But more importantly, Galaxy Digital giving away, in this sense here, 30,000 Bitcoin to buy ETH or whatever the actual number was. I don't care. It doesn't really matter. It's actually a really interesting position that they've put themselves in because at the end of the day, right, Mike Novogratz is pretty big on XRP, so don't get it twisted. Mostly Ripple, but XRP too. Does it make them Galaxy Digital then? Security salesmen because they have such a huge amount of ETH, for example? Well, no, not necessarily. But then again, it depends on the structure, right? Well, does it? Or does it depend on the decentralization of the project? That's again a discussion that we can definitely have because nobody really knows. You might say, well, it depends on decentralization. Yes, but also no. I mean, even if Ripple, for example, stepped away right now altogether and gave their XRP to somebody else, the whole loop would just keep going on. I'm thinking now, let's say 1,000 different nodes stepped in to make it more decentralized even. Would then all of a sudden the problem be fixed? Well, no, because Ripple still has a large amount of XRP. So then it's about the centrality of the tokens. But then is Satoshi Nakamoto in trouble because he has a lot of Bitcoin? So let's say Elon Musk decides to buy everything, all the XRP now. Is it all of a sudden Elon's security? No. So that's, again, a difficult one. It's a really, really difficult one. Because at the end of the day, what you got to remember is one of the arguments that they're making is that because Ripple is like one of the biggest factors for the XP price, and that's basically why it's a security sale. But I'm thinking, again, if you're the biggest holder of something, and again, even if you're not necessarily the founder, it doesn't matter. If you're the biggest holder of something, there's a very high likelihood you want to make that thing succeed. It doesn't mean the only person doing it. It doesn't mean everybody has to rely on you, but there's a very high probability that you want to make this thing even more popular than it is. So I just think it's a logical deduction. But it just kind of comes back down to the fact that this lawsuit is pretty dumb. But we've concluded that 1,000 times, which is why I'm saying you can go down this rabbit hole for hours and hours and hours a day. It's not really going to solve too many things. Now, all right, I wanted to quickly make sure that I'm actually a little bit in the frame. Sometimes when I check back the recordings, all of a sudden I'm like all the way here talking. I'm like, oh, I have to redo it now. So just quickly making sure that I'm actually in the frame a little bit. I can see it now though. With my new setup, I have one phone to record, one phone to do light, iPad here to do the second screen, and the MacBook here. I'm an Apple fan apparently. Oh, wow. But that's my setup for right now. I have a change coming up soon though, but I have to order it, and I'm a little bit, No, it's not I'm lazy. There's a couple of places which I wanted to order, but here it's not possible. So I'm like, ooh, where do I get this stuff? All right. So US SEC delays decision on Grayscale's spot Bitcoin ETF. I saw another article saying Grayscale has failed to get approval for the Bitcoin ETF. I told you guys 1,000 times. Why are they denying it? They're saying tether. They're saying market manipulation. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but there's something going on at the SEC which we just, as normal market participants, cannot fathom or understand. It's just such a strange system in the way they operate. It's so strange. Then a fun little article, the Boston Fed and MIT published long-awaited research on central bank digital currencies. If you don't check these things out, I think you're wasting out. You're missing out. There we go. Generally speaking, these are the more important documents that come out. Even though they're not necessarily that big on the price, it's the underlying message that these articles bring. So generally speaking, the Boston Fed, do we really care about the Boston Fed specifically? No, because whatever choice they make is not really going to affect too many others. But if they, for example, have a crazy positive tone, we definitely want to see that because there's a very high probability that if one of these Feds basically has a positive tone or a neutral tone or whatever, that the next one is going to do the same thing, or at least they're going to kind of derive from one another. So it's kind of going to be like a little snowball effect. And if you're noticing from the get-go that it's all negative, you can already prepare for multiple decisions being negative afterwards. So it's just like a preparation measure that I'm thinking, hey, make sure you check these things out whenever they come out as soon as possible. Then again, we have covered this, I think, a couple years ago as well, because I think they've been doing this like every year or something like that, because I remember this. So yeah. Then Bitcoin may get major impulse from this factor, Bloomberg's Michael Malone. Well, actually, guys, before we move on, I want to quickly say a couple of things really briefly about the XRP and whatnot price, Bitcoin price, anything like that. So officially, I'm actually better go to small screen. Oh, this is a big screen. Let's do this one. So a couple of things I want to briefly say. XRP, as I said in my previous video, has officially broken out and has got the confirmation which I wanted to see. Only negative side is that it came right back to our, I guess, target area at about 69 cents, but it's not a problem. Theoretically speaking, we should open up a long position. Not financial advice. My thoughts may be wrong. For Bitcoin, however, it's going to close in about 1 minute from now. theoretically speaking, we should actually stay with our short position. I know it sounds crazy, but that's again what the theory suggests here. That depends on whether or not you're talking macro or micro. If we're looking on a shorter term, we should have opened up the long position. We still should. Why? Because on a daily, this is a daily time frame, it did not get confirmed. Basically, we wanted to have a breakout, which we did with this candle right here. We wanted the confirmation candle right afterwards. We did not get it on the daily. On a 4-hour, check it out, we did break out and did get the confirmation candle. It doesn't really matter which of the two breakouts you mean. You can talk about the trend line or you can talk about our little demand zone here. Right? At that point, supply zone for Bitcoin. It broke out. There's no question about that. We had a perfect retest as well for Bitcoin here. Is that, look at that, right at the Fibonacci level at about 41,000. And most people talked about saying 41,000 was the most important area for Bitcoin. It was a heavy, heavy resistance before. It acted as a heavy support for a long time as well. And right now it's again acting as some support. But that's a 4-hour time frame. On the short term, we could have opened up a long position when, again, this, for example, closed after the breakout, yada, yada, yada. But I'm more so a longer term type of guy, and as of this point, it does not look like it. Then again, the more we zoom in, the more it starts to look a little bit too juicy to let go, right? As again, even on the 1 hour here, we got a beautiful confirmation where there's basically a couple of bullish candles in a row after our breakout session. Depending on which breakout you take here, it doesn't really matter because both of these were confirmed. That's again the scary part about it. There's a really big difference between traders. So as of this point, what I can tell you is there's a style where, for example, you only trade when every single measure has been hit. For example, let's say you have a list of 7 things. Generally speaking, these people take a very low amount of trades, but very high accuracy. But again, in terms of profit, not necessarily better than the other. Because the second person, for example, takes, let's say, for example, double the trades, but only goes on 5 markers, but will lose a little bit more. And then there's some people who, for example, win half and half. It's really possible. But then whenever they win way more than that they lose when they lose. Oh, I should sit up a little bit. And that's generally speaking not where I'm in. I would say we're in the second basket or bracket where we don't go and follow every single point, but we do look for quite a couple. And so if I'm looking for a hefty long position on Bitcoin, I definitely have a couple of different things that I'm really looking out for. Now, one of my ones would be that we got a bounce of 41,000, which we did. You've most likely seen all the main Bitcoin guys say we want to bounce from there, and we did now. So that's really bullish. On the 1 hour and 4 hour time frame, and I believe like 50 minutes or so as well, we did get our bullish confirmations. But fundamental wise, news wise, from that perspective, S&P wise, things are in a little bit of a scary spot. So right now it's really a predicament because even though my feelings say, yeah, we got a couple of good things in there. Open up the long right now. Long position basically being something over on Bybit. If you don't know what it is, guys, there's a link down below because right now there are some crazy bonuses. $4,100. It's crazy that you can get. And again, I said it, the first person to actually make an account on KuCoin gets $250. Nobody made an account. At least I didn't see one in the list, so nobody won yet. There's still $250 to give away from the previous video because nobody claimed it yet. So the first person to make an account and deposit something will get $250 in their account within 50 minutes. I'm not sure if I have to approve it or the person at KuCoin would do it for me. Not sure, but most likely a couple of minutes and you'll get it. But nobody claimed it. No fun fact. But Bybit is the exchange they use for leverage trading. As at the end of the day, how it works is we basically, long is you basically buy it with leverage. And so let's say the price goes up 1%, we actually make 10%. If the price goes down 1%, you actually lose 10%, unless you go short, or you basically are doing the opposite. You're basically saying the price is going to go down. It is a system of borrowing, actually, but it's a longer story about how exactly that would work. Point being, the short, in theory, is right now the best scenario, but there's so many factors which are indicating bullish that I'm sticking away for Bitcoin for a little bit. I have a long position open, as you guys most likely saw in my previous video. That's mostly to kind of try out the inverse correlation and kind of go with my gut feeling. But on the main account, I don't know. I think we're right now in a spot where it's too strange, if you guys understand my drift. So once more, short term, almost all factors say yes, open up a long right now. Long term, we have the fundamentals being, we're in a bearish market for a little bit here. Usually, I believe in the halving cycle, so I do believe that we are in a little bit of a bearish cycle or point. There's negative news almost everywhere. We have, for example, the interest rate stuff. And even though inherently that might be bullish for crypto, it's reacted bad to it every single time thus far. And we have the fact that we did not get the daily confirmation which we wanted to see. Then again, on the XP chart, everything looked good. If you don't open a long position, no worries, but that's what we were basically telling about a little while ago. As everything looked good, everything is still looking good. And again, it does not have to work out, but that's the fundamentals of our trade, you know? And as I said before, as long as we keep taking these trades consecutively, I don't think there's any way to really lose on this. But that is just my opinion. Please, guys, make sure you do your own due diligence. As at the end of the day, we might be wrong. We might lose money. Who knows? I personally don't think we will lose money over longer periods of time. But if you only follow, for example, one of the trades that we do, it might not work out. But generally speaking, we don't lose that often. So, I don't know. I don't think it's... But that's just my thoughts, though. All right. Then a couple of things. So, Belarus is to allow investment funds to buy Bitcoin. Pretty cool. Saudi Arabia will invest $1 billion into the Metaverse. Nobody cares. The reason I'm saying that is because Metaverse is such a overhyped concept right now. I mean, Metaverse has been a thing for, I don't know, decade and a half or so. If you think about it, Roblox, Minecraft, everything in that sense is all Metaverse, right? In Minecraft, you can have your entire, we can build an entire world of a lot of different things. IMVU, and I think we go on a list of a lot of different games and gaming type of things that basically allow you to build an entire world or build an entire connection with people online. All of a sudden, since Facebook, not Meta, changed their name, it's like, oh, Metaverse, what? This is the most crazy thing in the world. Wow, please take my children. You know that it's changed so much. When in reality, if you're investing in Metaverse, what are you actually buying into? You know, are they buying crypto? No, not necessarily. They could. Are they buying into NFTs? No, not necessarily. They could. What are they going for? Are they going for VR? Maybe they could, but it's also AR. Are they going for AR? We don't know. So what exactly is this? Well, in this case here, they are talking about blockchain technology in Metaverse, so that's again a step forward. But it's so vague. It's so open. It's like, oh, we're going to invest money. So where are you going to do it? Just, somewhere. You know what I mean, guys? It's like, what can we do with this information now? We know that Saudi Arabia is progressive, but then again, at the end of the day, for Saudi Arabia to invest $1 billion, it's not like it's the craziest amount of money that all of a sudden is showing all the faith. A little bit lying, though, because here it said that they invest or plan to invest $6.14 billion in future technologies, including the Metaverse and blockchain. The Minister of Communications and Technology said that its state-owned NEOM launched a $1 billion investment in the Metaverse. So it's a start, you know. And I can't say anything negative about this. A lot of people are really excited about it. I just said it's a little bit vague because Metaverse is an overused little point right now. Then again, I can't say too much negative about it, right? A little side note, guys. If you're not following me over on Instagram and Le Twitter yet, make sure you check it out. There's going to be links for that down below as well, somewhere in here. Let's quickly see. Where is it now? Here. So I have a... Did I delete it? Has there not been an Instagram and Twitter link before? Oh, here we go. So hopefully you guys can see. Yeah, there's the Twitter. There's the Instagram. Make sure you check those out. On my Instagram, I post a lot of fun stuff about real life. For example, here we are.
And you said turn the music down.
I should not do the music, maybe. Yeah, so Da Vinci left, unfortunately. There was Slavic. There's a couple other people. Here's the food. A lot of you guys were saying don't do a video with Carl anymore. You guys don't like Carl? About the XRP stuff? Story for a different day. There's a pilot. Other guys. And here's the go-karting, for example. I just post a lot of fun stuff over on Instagram that you guys might want to see, might not. And I post a lot of memes as well. I mean, it's like quality memes as well, you know, good stuff. A lot of them I make myself. Eventually, I'll most likely just post more of the videos that I take in real life and stuff. But that's the memes I used to post before, so I'm kind of sticking with it. Here's, for example, one video that we took earlier. You guys have most likely seen it. Just whatever. Just go ahead and check it out if you want to. Why not, right? You don't have anything to lose right there. So, okay, a link for that is going to be down below. And guys, that was it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you press the like button and subscribe. And always, if you have any feedback, put it down below. I try to make these videos as fun and entertaining and good as possible. So, if there's anything I can do better, just put it down below. You know, I'm literally blinding myself here purely to have better lighting. Who would have imagined that I'd turn from a freaking guy behind the computer all the time, you know, with no face, to freaking caring about my lighting by blinding myself for you guys. I've changed. Man. All right, but that was it for today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you press the like button and subscribe, and I'll definitely see you guys again in another crypto video later today. Adios, amigos.